Very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are watching us from, and all the dignitaries present at this inaugural of this COVID-19 dialogue. I must say Professor Muhammad Yunus, the Nobel Peace Laureate and the founder of Grameen Bank, Professor K.V.S. Sharma, who is the Vice Chancellor of the Maharashtra National Law University in Aurangabad, Professor Ilta Turan, and Sri Suresh Prabhuji will be joining tomorrow. All these speakers who will be joining us next 2 days. I am very grateful to welcome you all at this inaugural session of this very relevant and critical dialogue initiated by the Water Policy Center and the Yunus Center on the sectoral impact, global responses, and the COVID-19 and enhancing resilience to the future pandemics.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting me, and thanks to Water Policy Center for organizing this. This is a very timely occasion to address the issue of pandemic, how it's affecting us all across the globe and also locally. This is a crisis that we are not prepared for. We make lots of contingency plans and lots of other things, but we never thought of making any contingency plans for a pandemic like the one that we have right now, or any pandemic for that matter. So we are confronted with it, and it revealed many things in us. When we look at this as a crisis, and the crisis is taking this crisis as a mirror, and look at ourselves in this mirror of crisis, we see that it doesn't give us a good picture. We have so many weaknesses that comes out from seeing what we have done or what we are about to do. Many things have revealed because of this pandemic. One of them is obviously the unpreparedness for it. And not only that, when it came as a global attack. It's not focused on a particular country or focused on a particular nation. Irrespective of who you are, what kind of nation you are, what kind of economic situation you are in, it didn't make any difference at all. It attacked everybody in the same way and overcome all the odds situation that they had to face. And this happened within less than 100 days. In less than 100 days, the whole world was captured, was surrendered to the attack of the coronavirus. That's the speed in which it happened, and the unpreparedness that we have shown is just mind-boggling. This was an occasion when we should have been together, facing this common enemy in a global solidarity, but that's not what we did. We did the reverse. We were busy trying to protect our own clans, own tribes, own nations, and so on, and even to the disadvantage of other nations and other people. And we didn't mind it. We are so focused on doing the things. And we, instead of trying to build or take shelter behind a common structure, a global structure, which we had at that moment, although we are not prepared for this, but it existed because of other reasons. We didn't come around to take shelter and strengthen that global structure. We weakened it. We questioned it. We attacked it, like we attacked the WHO. Some countries, very important countries like USA, attacked WHO and stopped the funding and then withdrew the membership. All the negative things that you can think about happened. So that shows how kind of not only unprepared, we behaved in a very different way than it should have been. We should have been united and fought it together. And then you look at the corona vaccine, the vaccine that is in the phase that is about to be developed, about to be released, about to be used by the people. That's ultimately the protection for all the people in the planet. And all you hear about how the rich countries are buying up every single dose of that vaccine. If you take United States and Europe and UK all together, they bought out everything. Didn't leave anything for anybody else. And what happened to the rest of the world? They couldn't care less. This is now called as a corona nationalism, vaccine nationalism, that you have to keep your vaccine for yourself, even if you don't need all of them. So this is again a very selfish way. So that's one of the things that the corona pandemic has revealed in a very, very concrete way, how selfish we are as a human being. And not only in terms of the vaccine, in terms of the healthcare protections and so on, in every other way. We design economy in a way which is based on selfishness. And the basic point that is brought by economists, defining human being as someone who is driven by self-interest. That's the core of economics, that a human being who is driven by self-interest, meaning that a human being is, by definition of economists, is a selfish person. So we built everything for that selfish person. We designed our concepts, our institutions, our operational procedures, everything to fit this selfish person. When we let this selfish person go into business, we give them the goal of a very selfish nature, profit maximization. So that's the only thing he does or she does in business, is to maximize profit. So I said, that's a very wrong interpretation of human being. This is the right time to see how wrong that interpretation is. I've been talking about it for many years. Now I see it a very appropriate time to show it again, that we are wrong in defining, economists are wrong in defining human being as someone driven by self-interest only. I said, human beings are much bigger than selfish being. Selfishness may be a part of human being. It's not all of human being, not the entirety of the human being. Human being is a combination of two aspects. Is a self-interest, yes, of course, we have the protection mechanism that we need self-interest. But at the same time, the bigger aspect of human being is a common interest. That common interest was never taken inside of economic theory. It is left out. As a result, economics became a very selfish theory. It's all about making money, all about chasing goals of maximizing profit. And we believed in it. We taught in our classrooms. We practice in our business world. We take it for granted in our government policies. So as a result, human beings, we have turned ourselves into money-making robots. Instead of being human beings, we became robots of chasing money all the time. And that's what created all the problems that we have in the world. And the pandemic has revealed it, how selfish we are, how it's a built-in, we are naturally that way, we're made artificially that way. And in that, I blame the economic system, the educational system. We dish out all the theories that have been promoted by economists, saying that we are selfish. And we teach our young people to be selfish, so that we perpetuate this whole idea of being selfish. I said we have to redesign our thinking processes, and that's the only way we can get out of it. And I see corona pandemic, the whole thing that happened to the world and the huge crisis that it has created, is also an opportunity. When things go absolutely wrong, that's the time you wake up to do things differently. If somehow it works, you keep on doing the same thing. You don't care because it's working. Now it's not working. The whole machine, the economic machine, has stopped completely. And we see what happens when it comes out. And we see ourselves in a very bad context, that yes, we have been creating this from the selfish nature, and we are passing it on to our academic system, to our education, to our young generation, to perpetuate this system. So Corona gives us an opportunity to stop that process of continue forever and ever in the same way. So this is a time to challenge our thinking. It's not just to challenge it, you defy it. You have to be very strong in doing that. This is the opportunity that we create for ourselves. And we can see these things very clearly in the impact of the corona pandemic. The whole thing that happened to the world and the huge crisis that it has created is also an opportunity. When things go absolutely wrong, that's the time you wake up to do things differently. If somehow it works, you keep on doing the same thing. You don't care because it's working. Now it's not working. The whole machine, the economic machine, has stopped completely. And we see what happens when it comes out. And we see ourselves in a very bad context that, yes, we have been creating this from the selfish nature, and we are passing it on to our academic system, to our education, to our young generation, to perpetuate this system. So Corona gives us an opportunity to stop that process of continue forever and ever in the same way. So this is a time to challenge our thinking. It's not just to challenge it, you defy it. You have to be very strong in doing that. This is the opportunity that we create for ourselves. And we can see these things very clearly in the impact of the corona pandemic. We see, particularly when we look at the people at the very lower level of income, how suddenly they find themselves out of income, no income whatsoever. They were hanging by their nails to make a living for themselves. When the pandemic came, they gave up their nails and fell completely. Overnight, they have no income, they have no livelihood, they have no source of funding themselves to have enough to eat. And we have seen it very vividly. In India, you have seen it. In Bangladesh, we have seen it. The millions of people going back home, walking hundreds of miles. So it's a very sad thing to see that the people have to go hundreds of miles away from the places where they were born to find just a livelihood of survival. It's not making money and being rich. It's just a survival livelihood. I said, why can't we create an economy where we can have the survival lives where we live, where we are born? Why do we have to go hundreds of miles away from that to make that happen? So this is the redesigning of the whole economic system itself is a question that we have to do that. And then economists do something terrible. They call them informal sector. All these people that we are talking about do fall from this hanging from the nail. They belong to informal sector, meaning economists have no policy for them. The economists have no institutions for them. They never bother about them. They are only concerned about the formal sector. So they say only thing the informal sector people can do is to try their best to get to the formal sector, get jobs. Job is the only entry point for them to become to help. Okay, there's a noise coming up in the way. So this is the only way economists will suggest to go back and do your thing. And I'm saying that it's a very wrong way to look at the human being as informal sector, and it's such a huge sector. Almost 65 to 70% of the population of India, Bangladesh belong to that informal sector. So you cannot just walk away from that. This is where the real people live. This is what the nation is all about. When 70% live there in the informal sector. I said this is a wrong description of that sector. You should call it micro-entrepreneurial sector, because these are the people who do things on their own with their creative ideas, with their entrepreneurial zeal, and they make sure that they can survive, they can continue to feed their families, raise their children. Nobody else helps them. Everything is against them, but against all those odds, they keep on surviving, they keep on making it life until the shock like a pandemic comes when they drop completely from the source of the income and so on. So I said, we recognize it as a micro-entrepreneurial sector. The moment we do that, then something dramatic happens. Then we see they belong to a very important sector of the nation, because they belong to the entrepreneurial sector of the nation. So whole entrepreneurial pyramid that you have, on the top of that pyramid, you have the multi-billion-dollar entrepreneur at the top of the pyramid, and the entrepreneurial pyramid. In the middle of that pyramid, you have the multi-million-dollar entrepreneurs. At the bottom of the pyramid, those people who are micro-entrepreneurs, they're the multi-$100 entrepreneurs. They need only several $100 or so, about $1,000, $2,000. That's about the money they need to survive and continue their business. Every entrepreneur needs money. This is the fuel of entrepreneurship. But the micro-entrepreneurial people, the 70% of the population, have no access to that finance. Where do they get the money? Their families cannot provide that money. So they go to the loan shark. So loan sharking becomes a thriving business in the process. So whatever the micro-entrepreneurs earn, bulk of that money goes to the loan sharks. So they remain what they are. I said, if you can recognize them as a micro-entrepreneurs, why don't we create micro-entrepreneur banks so that these banks can focus on the micro-entrepreneur sector only? Because other banks are focusing on the multi-billion-dollar people and multi-million-dollar people. They will never come to those multi-$100 people. So we need a specialized bank, like we created Grameen Bank, for example. We created microfinance, for example, for this reason. So not only we do the micro-entrepreneur banks, also we make it social business micro-entrepreneur bank. What is social business? Social business is a business to support the idea of common interest. So we create another kind of business to solve people's problems without making any money for themselves, making any money for the entrepreneurs. This is something, if we believe that we have the both self-interest and common interest. In the self-interest, you make the profit maximizing business. In the common interest, you create the business to solve problem rather than make money for yourself. So both of them side by side. So we make these banks as a social business micro-entrepreneur bank, because if we don't do that, somebody use this bank to make money for themselves, become loan shark again. So close the door for loan sharking, make this social business micro-entrepreneur bank. And this is the way to go redesign. So new thinking has to come from the shock that we have received, because all the weaknesses, all the faulty designs that we made in our system, in the whole system, to make that happen. So this is a challenge for all of us. And if you recognize as a micro-entrepreneur sector as a separate sector, then the question comes, why don't the government pay attention to it? How do they do that? Like government wants to pay attention to the labor sector. So when you have pay attention to the labor sector, formal labor, then you create a labor ministry. You have the institutions, you have the rights all defined by legislations, and create institutions to protect their rights and of the labor rights and so on. So why don't we not create, if we recognize this micro-entrepreneur sector, the separate sector, why don't we create a ministry of micro-entrepreneurs, so that that ministry is dedicated to looking at the problems of the micro-entrepreneurs? Nobody looks at them. They have no law, they have no procedure, they have no institutions. So you now design the law for them, how to protect them, how to bring the facilities for them in a way they can grow out of the situation they are in. So this is one part of the very important redesigning process. So I'm emphasizing the redesigning process because otherwise the pandemic will come and make havoc on us. We go back to the same old way that we were in. Nothing changed, nothing else. So this shock has to mean something. We have to make audacious decisions, outrageous decisions. If you do the normal little decisions, this will not help. And I also mentioned that I see the tremendous amount of eagerness to go back to the situation where we are before the corona came in. We said that we have to rush back to that situation to go back where we are. I said, why do you want to go back? This is the time to reflect. Do we really want to go back to where we are from before the corona came in? To me, I don't want to go back. I said that world was a terrible world. And Corona, we should be grateful to Corona. Corona has saved us from that world. That world was about to destroy itself through global warming. You remember those global warming warnings that we are hearing and all the things that young people are telling us, that Fridays for future, that they are blaming their parents, their grandparents for stealing their future. Young people, the teenagers don't have the future left. If the entire generation is blaming their previous generation for being irresponsible, what kind of economy we want to have for ourselves when we have no future for our young generation who are coming up, our own children and grandchildren? So we have to redesign that, and we don't want to go back to where we are coming from. Going back, meaning that it will be ending up with a disaster. So we say we are in a train, rushing back, rushing to the death for ourselves through global warming. And now Corona has saved us. They stopped the train. So now we can get out and say, can we go another direction? We don't want to go to the direction where the death is waiting for us. So this is a challenge for us. Not only global warming is creating the problem, also wealth concentration. All the wealth of the world is concentrated in fewer and fewer hands. If you look at the globally, you see 1% of the population of the entire world owns 99% of the wealth of the entire world. What kind of world is that? This is a ticking time bomb. It will explode anytime. So that explosion, we don't have to wait. We don't have to go there and wait for the explosion. We don't want to go there wait for the explosion. And then that is the world which artificial intelligence is waiting for us in that world, where we will be removed from all our work. Because human beings are not necessary anymore, because machines will be doing all the work better than the human beings. So why do we want to go back to that world? We want to be in the world where we will be in command, not the machines will be in command. We design our life the way we want, not at the service of the machine, human being working for serving the wishes of the machines. That's not the kind of world we want to go back. So my decision is, I don't want to go back. And I'm appealing to everybody to make the decision. We don't want to go back. Going back will be suicidal. We need to create a new world, a world which will be free from all those things. Like, for example, we want to create a world of 3 zeros. Zero wealth concentration. We don't want to have the world with the extreme wealth concentration, perpetuation of that wealth concentration. We don't want that. Zero net carbon emission. We don't want the carbon emission to continue. We want the global emission net emission to become zero. And it's possible. These are not kind of storytelling. This is the real thing that we can handle it. We know the answer. We have the solutions, but we don't care for them. We are so busy making money. It's an addiction. Making money is an addiction. We got so much addicted into it. We don't care for anything else. When somebody gets addicted, you say, oh, the normal life is, he doesn't care for the normal life. He wants to get addicted and ruin his life. So today, as a human being, we got addicted because of this theoretical framework that we are given with. We want to challenge that framework and redesign the framework so that we can have this world of 3 zeros: zero net carbon emission, zero wealth concentration, zero unemployment. So this is a doable thing, and Corona gives us the opportunity to make it happen. Let's take this opportunity. Let's not miss this opportunity. If we miss it, it will not come back again in many years. In the meantime, we'll be finished on this planet. We don't want to see that happening. Thank you very much. I'll stop here and let you proceed with your program.